This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, welcome to Isha Training Solutions. So in our previous session, we discussed about test types and how the proxy communication that is actually happening, like that we discussed. So JMeter HTTP proxy server configuration. Okay, maybe I'll quickly launch JMeter. Say like I'll go to my folder. So I'll launch JMeter. So in JMeter, actually saying you are going to configure a port. Okay, that port you have to configure in the browser. Okay, so HTTP configuration and then your proxy configuration. It's a joint activity only. Okay, so what you are going to do, you are going to configure a port in JMeter, and then that port you are going to configure it in the browser. Why we are doing all these things? Because so your by default your browsers are working like HTTP port means 8080, HTTPS port means 443. Like that, communication is actually happening in your application. Okay, but you don't want to use those port because multiple application, multiple traffic that are happening in that port. You want to have a unique port where your communication should happen. You don't want to mingle your traffic with other application traffic. So for that purpose, what we are doing, we are configuring a unique port in JMeter and also your browser, and through that you are trying to do the communication. How that is actually happening, I'm going to show you. Say like there is like the explanation of remaining things we are going to see in the subsequent topic. Okay, don't worry. Right now I'm going to show you the proxy configuration explanation. So I'm quickly what I'm doing under the test plan, we have to add one um, non-test element called test script recorder. Okay, this is actually used for recording. This is actually used for JMeter recording. So I told you here is a place you are trying to configure a port which should be unique so that your communication will be happening smoothly. That is what I told you, right? So similarly, what I'm here, you can use 8888 itself, which is a default port, or you can use something like 8056 or 808057 or something like that. Okay, anything, any unique port you can configure it. Okay, and here, okay, usually in real world, what we will do, we will add a thread group. Okay, we will add a thread group and then only we will add a test script recorder. So in this way only we will add it. So while doing it, you can select this target controller. I mean where you wanted to record your traffic. I'm saying under thread group you record it, and then how you wanted to group your samplers. Okay, last option. So don't worry, this and all you will be getting that understanding when you are progressing in our learning, because right now my intention is how the port configuration is actually happening, how the communication is actually happening. That is my intention. So which means that here you are selecting the thread group option, here you are selecting the last option. That is how you are going to start your recording. Okay, what is the next step? I'm going to my browser, Chrome browser. So I'm going here, click settings, go to your proxy setting, XY. If you type XY, go to the proxy setting, and then what you have to do, you have to switch off whatever the running things. Okay, here you have to switch off it, and then you have to switch on this one. You have to pass it like this, guys. Okay, you have to pass it like local host, don't give any space, local host, and then any port. Okay, here I used 8056, and make sure this place is empty. Make sure this place is empty, because in certain organization they'll use certain filtering options here. Okay, so don't have anything here, clear everything. Okay, so right now what I did, I enabled this manual proxy. I gave the address as localhost and then port as something, and then I cleared everything here and then click save button. Okay, so now what I did, guys, I manually changed my proxy. I manually changed my proxy. So what I have to do, I have to validate whether I did this right or wrong. How to validate it? So I'll go here, open the browser, type something, and then click enter. I'm searching something. This should happen. Your internet should not work. Your internet should not work because you manually configured your proxy setting. So manual proxy should not work. Manual proxy should not work. Okay, it should say no internet. This is actually the correct behavior. This is actually the correct behavior. So, sir, you are saying you have to do the manual configuration, and you are saying if you are entering something in the Google, it is saying no internet means. Then how the communication will happen, sir? How the internet will work, sir? If you are asking this, how you have to do? You have to click the start button. You have to click the start button. This is also configured in 8056 and your browser also configured in 8056. And if you are clicking the start button, what will happen? Your JMeter is actually becoming like a proxy server. Your JMeter is actually becoming like a proxy server. So if your JMeter is actually becoming like a proxy server, as per the functionality, if you are going and refreshing the page again, if you are going here, refreshing your page again, I mean, refresh in the sense like you do any internet activity. That is what I'm trying to explain. So probably you can say like something. Okay, I mean pet store or something like that. Okay, anything you try to launch it. So you can see some traffic will be coming. Some traffic will be coming. Okay, what is happening here means, so now since you are I mean what you are doing, you are making this tool, I mean our tool, you are making our tool to act like a proxy server so that your internet will work. Okay, that is a logic, that is a logic. So simply if you are editing the manual proxy, simply you are launching the browser, internet should not work. See, after that, if you are starting the JMeter and then if you are trying to record it, internet should work because your JMeter tool is actually acts like a proxy server. Any question, guys? Still no? Any question till now?
No question.
Yeah. So this is actually interview question also. Definitely people will check like, I mean, if you are using this option, internet will work or what, like that they will ask. So that time you can explain them. If you are simply editing the manual proxy, and then if you are trying to launch your browser manually, it should not work, and then make your proxy, I mean, if you are starting the JMeter, your JMeter will become a proxy server and then internet will work. Like that you can explain to them. Okay. Before to that, I need to explain one thing. Okay. So there the traffic is actually, there are two ways, right? HTTP or HTTPS. HTTP or HTTPS. So this is actually a normal website, internet based. This is actually a secure website. Okay. So where there is a secure website concept is actually comes to the picture JMeter sometimes will not work at all. JMeter sometimes it will not work at all. So in that case, what you have to do, you have to install the JMeter certificate in the browser. Trusted root certificate. Under the trusted root certificate, you have to install the JMeter root certificate and then it will work. So now I'm going to show you. So guys, like I mean, when you are trying also same behavior only. Look at here, file number 1, file number 2. I'm deleting. Okay, these two files I'm deleting, and then there is one more file called JKS. This proxy server.jks. These three files you have to, I'm deleting, but in your case, if you are launching the JMeter for the first time, I mean, you downloaded, you extracted, and you are launching the tool for the first time, in your machine also, these three files will not be there. Okay, please remember. Please remember, in your machine also, these three files will not be there if you are using it for the first time. Okay, so what you are supposed to do, I'll explain right now. So when you are doing, I mean, look at here, I'm simply launching this JMeter base. Okay, I'm simply launching this JMeter. In your machine also, first time you are going to launch the JMeter. First time you are going to launch the JMeter. Okay, and then what you have to do in your machine? Say like you are going to right click, add the same. Maybe you add a thread group and then you add a test script recorder in your machine also. Okay, and then you try to do a target recording as this one. Okay, so now I wanted to show you guys what is actually happening. So please observe guys, like if I click the start recording button, if I click the start recording button, what is actually happening, you can observe it. So look at here, these files are automatically created. I'm stopping this. These files are automatically created. Look at here, this file, and the JKS file, all the three files that are automatically created. Why? JMeter is generating its own certificate, By default, it will not be there. You have to start the recording, then only the certificate will be created in the bin folder. Any question guys till now?
But if yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, but if we, when internet is not working, so how we can hit the application? Like after being installed, it will hit the application, or before when we try to off the proxy server.
So right now it is in the off condition only, right? This is an off condition only. Sorry, on condition. On condition only it is there.
Okay, okay,
But
okay.
see, it's whether on or off, it's not a matter. You are trying to start the recording. Okay. So when you are trying to start the recording, that time only you are doing this behavior. So maybe for the trial purpose, what we will do,
Mhm.
we'll switch off this.
Okay.
Okay. And then we'll come here. Delete those three files again. That's a JKS
So
file, right?
JKS file, yeah. So two JKS file or one proxy server.jks?
Proxy server.jks alone.
Okay.
What
Yeah,
happened?
it will. Uh,
Okay.
it is downloading its own certificate. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So actually saying some 2 to 3 version before in JMeter,
Mm-hmm.
this file usually by default it will be there in the system. Now only they made the process like this. I mean, when you are
Okay.
starting only, it will come kind of a process and all. Recently only they introduced. In the old
Okay.
version of the JMeter, this root certificate will be there in the extracted file itself. When you are extracting file itself, the file will be inside. Okay.
Hmm. Okay.
Okay. I will show you one more thing. So this is a certificate. If I double click simply, what's actually happening? Okay, maybe
Yeah, for 1 year it is valid. Yeah.
no. Actually, I did the modification. That's the reason it's one year. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll go in different place. Just a minute. So this is also one fresh copy of the JMeter. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so look at here. So
Yeah,
it
it
is one.
is not
It is 20.
7 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time whenever you are generating a fresh copy, that is
Mm-hmm.
actually valid for 7 days only. Okay, that is actually valid for 7 days only. The certificate is actually valid for 7 days only. But every
Okay.
7 days and all, you cannot create. Right? That's actually a headache work. So
Yeah.
what you can do, that is what I did it in my version. What I did it very simple. I think I told you in the initial explanation also, there are activities that you can do it in the property file, which will make changes in your JMeter. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
there are two property, I mean, very important files I'm saying. Okay. There are multiple property files, but two property files are very important. JMeter.property and then user.property. JMeter.property and then user.property. Actually saying
Mm-hmm.
whatever you are achieving in the JMeter property can be achieved in user.property. But nowadays, what everybody is saying, don't do changes in the JMeter.property. Instead, try to do it in the user.property because it is like a user level. User
Mm-hmm.
level, you are trying to do some modification. So, say an example. If I open my user.property right now, in your machine it is not there, but in my machine, if you look into it, control enter. Look at here. These three lines I added. These three
Okay.
lines I added. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I added this hash mark and then below it I added these three lines. What is these three lines? One is certificate validity increase to 365 days. And then I created a backup option. There is a backup option available in JMeter. I created that backup option. And then I created undo option. Okay. If you guys are opening your JMeter right now, this undo redo icon itself will not be there. Undo
Yeah,
redo
yeah,
icon
yeah.
itself will not be there. But in my tool, it is there because I added this command. This command, and I'm saying, and also I'm instructing the JMeter at least 10 data you store it. I mean, I can do 10 times undo redo. Okay, 10 times. Okay.
Okay.
Similarly, I'm saying take the backup of my script. If you guys are going back and then validate in your folder, this backup folder will not be there. This backup folder will
Actually,
not be there.
but you are enhancing the properties files, and that's why it is changing the UI of your JMeter, right?
Yeah. I
Okay.
modified it and it is actually changing the UI in my JMeter.
Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm doing right now, I'm going to copy paste this in your chat box. Okay. So you guys
Mm-hmm.
can also do the modification in your
User
user.property,
properties.
in
Mm-hmm.
JMeter.properties, because which is not recommended nowadays. Actually saying all these properties are still available in JMeter.property. Okay, whatever it is there, actually there in the JMeter property also, but nowadays people are not doing it in the JMeter property. Instead, they are trying to do it in the user properties. Okay, so
But what is
now
the recommendation for adding the properties? I mean, the changes in user properties file or JMeter dot properties file?
user properties only up to
Okay.
date.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So you do these changes. Okay, you do these changes, and then what you do, you delete that certificate. you delete that certificate and 3 files from that path, and then if you restart the JMeter and then you start the recording, a new certificate will be generated with the time period of 1 year.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'll repeat again. Usually it will be 7 days period only, 7 days only validated. But what you are doing, you added this command in the user.property, and then you are deleting the older certificate file, and then you are relaunching JMeter and then re-recording it, and then it is creating a new file with the validity of 1 year because you made the change in the user.properties. Okay, and then what you have to do? And then what you have to do, you have to go to your browser, find the word certificate, right? Certificate. There is an option called manage certificate. Manage certificate. In that, under the trusted root certificate, maybe I'm deleting the old one. I'm importing the newly generated certificate. I'm importing the newly generated certificate. What is that? I'm going here. This is a newly generated certificate which is generated to and I'm clicking next, finish, and then it will say you wanted to install it, yes, and then the import is actually successful. So the expiration is actually next year. The expiration actually next year. You can see the next year expiration. So and then you are closed. So now what I will do, say like usual thing, right? 8056, 8056. I'm doing here. I'm going here. I'm going to the proxy configuration. I'm going to the proxy configuration. I'm going back to the screen. I'm editing. I'm enabling the proxy again. And then saving this page. And then closing this. Now I'm going here. I'm saying like. Okay, I'm going here, and then if I click start recording, okay, and then I'm going here. Go to the browser. Usually, the recommended option is go to the incognito window. Okay, and now if I'm typing anything, because I enabled that option, right? So so I'm launching the browser means this time, if it is a HTTPS website also, it will try to record it. JMeter is actually trying to record it because we added the certificate in the browser, trusted root certificate. We added it and we are trying to see how the application traffic, here it is trying to record something. It is trying to record something, but till now the actual application is not recorded, but we'll wait for some time. So look at it. The application started recording. You are doing some activity means all those activities is actually going to be recorded, but you have to validate it here whether it is actually recording. Yes, all your application traffic that are recorded. This is actually an interview question. This is actually a interview question. Definitely they'll ask. Those who are not talking, please go on mute, please. Sorry. So this is actually recorded. What is the interview question? They'll ask like, okay, I am giving you one particular application that is actually a HTTPS based application. If the application is not recorded by default, what will you do? That time you have to say, we have to install the JMeter root certificate in the trusted root certificate of your browser. That time if you are trying to record it, that will capture the traffic. Like that you can explain to them. Any question guys till now? Anybody have any question?
No questions.
So now coming back to the course content. So I explained about HTTP configuration. I mean your recorder in the port number. What did you configure? And then the proxy setting I told you. And then basic scripting also I recorded. Small basic script also we recorded. Okay. So till now we covered the introduction part. So now we are slowly into the JMeter learning. Okay, JMeter learning, because see, I mean, JMeter learning, we are slowly constructing this knowledge, because any person, those who are asking question with you, they are not going to, I mean, they are not going to see whether you are aware of it. They will check whether you are managing things or what. That is the main objective. I'll repeat again. They'll not say whether you will work or what. They'll see like how will you manage things. I mean, there is a problem. How will you manage using JMeter? What are all the different options that you are aware of it? If plan A is failing, you are able to come up with the plan B or what? Like that only people will check it. Okay. In that way only our learning is also going to cover. I mean, one problem statement, how we are going to the next option to resolve it. That's how we are going to cover it. So for that we need to have a learning. We need to have a learning. What is that learning? First, I'll set the context. Okay. New script I'm creating, JMeter. By default, it will be like this. Okay. So JMeter is having a wonderful feature. What is that? Say like I selected test plan. I'm going to the edit screen. I click on help button. What will happen? It will go to the definition of the test plan in JMeter document. So anywhere, any understanding that you wanted to get it, anything, it may be sampler, it may be logic controller, it may be timer, it may be assertion, it may be preprocessor, it may be postprocessor, it may be listener, anything and everything. Select that particular thing and then go to the help menu. It will give you the definition of it. It will give you the definition of it. Okay. So test plan, yes, we know all the activities that are happening in the test plan only, because in the test plan only everything you are going to do, whatever the thread group level or sampler level or recorder level, anything and everything, whatever you are trying to do it, it is coming under your test plan only. Test plan. Actually, some 2 to 3 years before, there is one more menu will be there called workbench, but now they removed that workbench. They are having everything in the test plan menu itself. Okay, so test plan. Okay, under test plan, say if I right click it, go to the add, look at here, there are threads are there, config elements are there, listeners are there, timers are there, like that there are menus are there. But every communication that you are trying to do it under, you are trying to manage your scenario, everything under a thread group only. So right now I'm adding a normal thread group. I'm adding. Okay, normal thread group I'm adding. And then I'm going here test plan. Okay, I'm going to right click in the thread group itself. Okay, thread group. This time if you see, the menus are actually changing. What are all the additional things that are coming? Samplers and logic controller are additionally coming. Samplers and logic controllers are additionally coming. What is that meaning? Which means that samplers and logic controller can only come in the thread group level, not in the test plan level. That is a simple understanding. A simple understanding. Okay. So now thread group means what? Okay, test plan means I know. I told you every activity that are going to be tagged under your test plan only. Thread group means what? I am going to decide how my test has to execute. How my test has to execute. I mean, number of user, number of iteration, duration, like that. If I wanted to decide it, that is actually happening under the thread group only. So those who are coming from LoadRunner background, I mean, somebody definitely in this group, definitely there are people coming from LoadRunner background. For LoadRunner people, I'm saying you are using controller or performance center, right? Controller or performance center. That is actually this thread group. Whatever you are doing it in the controller, whatever you are trying to do it in the performance center, right? That activity you are trying to do it in the thread group. You are trying to do it in the thread group. So here you are doing a number of user configuration, iteration configuration, duration configuration. All those things you are trying to do it here. You are trying to do it here. Okay. So now there are internal things you should be learning, right? What is that? There are two sections are there. Actions to be taken after a sampler error and then thread group. So before that, I need to set the context, right? I need to set the context. What is that? If I right click this thread group, what are all the things that are there? Sampler, logic controller, like that. There are things that are there. I'm going to explain it. Okay. Sampler. Samplers means what? So I am talking to you people. How you guys are understanding I'm talking? It's a voice communication. Voice is a protocol. Voice is a protocol. So communication between two entities is actually the protocol definition. In LoadRunner and all, they are directly calling that as a name called protocol itself. But in JMeter, they are calling that as samplers. Samplers. I mean, in which way you are communicating. Okay, it's actually also called as protocols, or say like two entity how it is actually communicating. Say like usually this HTTP communication, or you are using something like Java or something like FTP, something like different ways you are doing the communication, right? That is actually mentioned in JMeter as a concept called sampler. Sampler, how you are communicating, sampler. Next one. Logic controller. Logic controller means what? How we wanted to execute the samplers. Execute the samplers. I mean, in which order, in which logic, okay, in which logic you wanted to execute the sampler. Say like sampler 1 has to be executed, sampler 2 has to be executed. Like that you are deciding, right? That is what you are doing it in the logic controller. I mean, you are adding a controller like this. You will add one controller, something like example transaction controller. So you will add a controller. You will add a controller. Through the controller, you are deciding how the samplers to be executed. Samplers, in which order you wanted to execute the sampler. That is the purpose of adding the logic controller. And then third one is preprocessor. Preprocessor. What is preprocessor? Preprocessor. What is preprocessor? Say you are recording your application. You are recording your application. In your application, somewhere some dynamic value is there. Somewhere some dynamic value is there. You wanted to handle the dynamic value. You wanted to handle the dynamic value. Say like example, okay. So you have request 1, request 2, request 3, request 4, like this. There is a dynamic value is actually coming here. Dynamic value is actually coming here. As per the process, this dynamic value is going in the request means request. This dynamic value is going in the request means somewhere this dynamic value will be available in the previous request response. Somewhere the dynamic value is actually available in the previous request response. But this dynamic value nowhere available in the script except this place. This is the first place it's actually available, but nowhere existing means that time you have to manually prepare the dynamic value. Somewhere you have to manually prepare the dynamic value. Manually prepare the dynamic value. How you are going the manually preparing the dynamic value? Using the preprocessor. I mean, you are manually construct the dynamic value and then you have to pass it into the third request. Pass it. You have to pass it into the third request. You are manually processing using the preprocessor, and then you are passing that request into the third request. This is actually called as preprocessor. You are pre-processing the information. Any question, guys? Anybody have any question?
Yeah. So for the preprocessor, you mentioned about we have to manually prepare the dynamic process. So I mean, are we passing any value in the preprocessor? Uh,
Preprocessor is
or
a logic. Preprocessor logic you are going to execute it. Say like any token, any value, any input that you are manually preparing using any
so
Java.
we are parameterizing here. You meant to say?
No, no, not parameterizing. We are generating the dynamic value.
Okay.
Say like
Okay.
you are launching one application. Okay,
Hmm.
there is a session ID that is actually generating. So if
Yeah.
the session ID logic available in the script itself, you are going to capture the dynamic value, pass it into the script. Okay.
Okay.
But if the
Okay.
logic
Perfect.
is not available in the script, what will you do?
Hmm.
You go back and then ask your developer, can you tell me the logic of the dynamic value? You are going to locally simulate that logic and then you are going to generate the token and then you are going to pass it inside the script. That concept is actually called as preprocessor.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. That is actually preprocessor. Post processor. What is that post processor? Same example only. Request 1, request 2, request 3, request 4, like that. So in request 3, you have a dynamic value, which is actually you are trying to pass in the request. So this dynamic value somewhere in the previous request only coming in the response. Okay, somewhere previous, say like in this response body, it is actually coming from that response body. From the response body, if you are capturing and then stored into a variable, okay, stored into a variable. That value, that variable you are passing here, means that is actually called a post processor. I mean, the value is there in the response itself. That response you are capturing and then pass it as a request, means that is actually post processor. You are manually constructing and then passing, means that is actually preprocessor. Any question, guys?
No.
And then coming back. So assertion means what? You are validating your output. Validating. You are validating something. It may be text validation, it may be size validation, it may be duration validation, but you are asserting something. You are validating something. Asserting something. You are validating something. Okay, that is what assertion means. And then timer. What is timer? So while you are doing certain activity in the application, you are thinking and then you are doing. You are thinking and then you are doing. But during the replay, your script will not think and all. Your script will not, by normal, will not think and all, because script is not having the brilliance. So in order to make a real world simulation, I mean, think and then click it. Think and then click it. Like that, you wanted to simulate the behavior. You can add the timer between the samplers. That is actually, okay, sufficient time gap. Sufficient time gap if you are giving, right? That is actually called as timers. Between the request, between the samplers, you are trying to give a sufficient time gap, right? That is actually called as timers. Test fragment, don't worry, just a placeholder. It's just a naming convention thing, so don't worry. There is no special behavior. Config element. What is config element? What is config element? Config element. So I told you last time also, your tool is not going to use browser. Your tool is not going to use browser. Your tool is not going to use browser means how the browser behavior will be simulated. Say like if I go here, I'm going here. If I click F12, okay, maybe not in this screen. I'm going in the screen, I'm clicking F12. Say like I'm simply reloading this page. So what this F12 will do, F12 will capture the traffic, right? I mean, how the communication is actually happening and all your F12 will capture. So example, I'm clicking on any request, okay, any request if you click. So you can see under the header itself, the request header is going, user agent is going, some request URL, something is actually going, right? Each and everything, if you click it, look at here, user agent is going, some cookie will be going, authorization will be going. So all these are handled by what? All these are handled by your browser only. All these are actually handled by your browser only. But if your browser itself not there means, then who will handle the header, authorization, cookie, cache, all those things? Who will handle? That is actually called as your config element, browser behavior, browser logic. You wanted to get the browser logic, right? Cache manager, cookie manager, header manager, authorization manager, all those things are handled by your config element only. Config element. And then finally, your listeners. Listeners are nothing but log, result. Listener. Listener means your logs, your test log, or your what you can say report. Your report. You wanted to see the JMeter report means you can use the listeners. So this understanding everybody should know, guys. Okay, with that only I would say you guys can do everything. Everything is possible if you know the definition of each and everything only. Any question, guys? Still no?
No.
So this is how you guys are getting the initial understanding. What is sampler? What is logic controller? What is preprocessor? What is postprocessor? Like that. Because with that understanding, you can easily get into the understanding of JMeter. Because JMeter is just a, I would say, you guys can even learn the tool in 5 to 6 days. I mean, if you are continuously learning, no, 5 to 6 days is more than sufficient to learn your JMeter tool. Okay, but you have to go or you have to approach in such a way you are not getting any confusion. Okay, right now I'm giving it in the direction you guys are going to get everything in a picture clear understanding. Okay, so there is one interview question is there. Just a minute, I think I did not enable the proxy still, so that's the reason it's throwing error. So go back. Sorry, I'm disabling this proxy. So go to the internet, type it, JMeter execution order. JMeter execution order. I mean, this is actually an interview question, guys. Okay, this is actually a interview question. So what is the execution order of execution order of your JMeter? Okay. So first, I mean, whatever available in the script, it's a configuration element only will first execute. Okay, I mean, though you are arranging it in different order and all in your script, I'm saying what are all the config elements are there, that is actually going to get the first priority, and then preprocessor, and then timer. Okay, these three things, and then your actual HTTP sampler or any sampler will be added. Once the HTTP sampler executed means what you can do from the sampler only, you can extract the data. Okay, and then you can assert the data and then see the log. So like this, your order of execution. I mean, this is actually interview question. Definitely they will ask, every interview they are asking this question. So you can take a note of it. Okay. So please note that timer, assertion, preprocessor, postprocessor only process if there is a sampler to which they apply. Logic controller and samplers are processed in the order in which they appear in the tree. Other test elements are processed according to the scope in which they are found and type of test element. Okay, so if there is any sampler only, preprocessor, assertion, timer, post processor, everything will work, because based on the output of the sampler only, this is going to work, right? So in that way, so the order is like this only. The order is like this only. So anybody, if they are asking in the interview question, you can explain to them. Okay, clear? Any question guys till now?
No questions.
Yeah. Just a minute. So, so those who wanted to proceed with this course, because there are learners who showed interest today, I mean, for getting the evaluation. So those who are interested to proceed with this, you can reach out to Kumar sir, 80199524227. 80199524227 is number. So I'll paste it in the chat as well. You can take this number. You can reach out to Kumar sir. Okay, for any further information. This session is actually 8 to 9 Indian time. Okay, 8 to 9 Indian time, morning time, and it is actually a weekday session. Monday to Friday you are going to have it, and then weekend holiday. So anything related to course timing, course content, you can reach out to Kumar sir for any further information. So all these sessions are already recorded. I hope you guys are already getting the playlist URL. Okay, YouTube playlist URL, you will be getting it. So I hope you guys are already receiving it. So you will be getting a lifetime access for those videos. Continuously you will be getting it. So if you are missing any session, you can watch it later and then you can come up with a question as well. So that is also still possible. And all the artifacts and supporting documents we'll share through Google Drive. Okay, you can download from Google Drive and then make use of it. So that access is also will be provided. So those who are interested to proceed with this, wanted to enroll for this session, to learn the JMeter concepts, you can reach out to Kumar sir, 80199524227. I'm not sure, like, I think today they will create a new group for the only enrolled students. Okay, only enrolled students, they will create a new group. So others will not have it. So those who wanted to enroll and then continue your learning without any gap, so please enroll yourself for the continuous learning. So thanks everyone for joining this session. Thanks everyone for giving me this opportunity to share my knowledge and experience with you people. So anyways, from tomorrow we are going to have the continuous learning. So thanks for joining and have a nice day. Bye bye.